Hey everybody, Peter here from Facts Not Included. Before listening to this episode, I want to thank you guys for checking us out. Also, make sure you do check out sciencecomicbook.com, where you can support the Kickstarter that Ashley mentions during the show. This episode's all about Science, the new comic book venture from Ashley Victoria Robinson and Jason Inman. We also sit down and discuss the latest Captain Marvel trailer and some Superman news, whatever that means. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. So, hey everybody, welcome to Facts Not Included. I'm your host, Peter Cabranes, and today it's a very special episode because we have a very special guest. I know we've promised for a very long time that we would have guests on this show, and it's something we've clearly not kept our promises about, but maybe this is a new beginning. So this amazing person, you know her work from the internet. She, of course, is a member of Collider Heroes, Movie Trivia Schmodown. She's been on there. The very short-lived Film HQ. It was great, but it didn't last long enough.
Bless.
Right? The Red Shirt Diaries, and of course, the Jawin YouTube channel. If you guys are fans of the Jawin YouTube channel, you've definitely seen her on there. She's also co-host of the Geek History Lesson podcast with Jason Inman, and as well as a contributor to MajorSpoilers.com. What a great website. Pretty cool place. So last year, she and Jason released the critically acclaimed Jupiter Jet graphic novel, and today she is here to promote the latest story. I don't know how else to say this. I'm going to say it this way. Science!
That's right.
Yeah?
It's got an exclamation point, so you have to say it like a 1950s baseball announcer.
I love that. So welcome to the show, the wonderful Ashley Victoria Robinson. How's it going?
It's so good. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for letting me bully you into having a guest on your show. I really, really appreciate it.
No, I mean, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. So, as we mentioned last year, was it last year? I think it was. Jupiter Jet was released. Is that correct?
The first issue came out in December of last year, yes. And our Kickstarter was last year as well.
Wow, yeah. So it's been a year already, and that came out. I've actually yet to read it, but everything I've heard about it from everyone is just beautiful.
Go read reviews. There's a big spoiler at the end of issue 5.
Okay, good, because I haven't heard that. I just heard good things. So yeah, stay away from spoilers, people, please. So with that coming out, it seemed as though it was a no-brainer that a part 2, like a story number 2 of some sort, would be coming out from you guys. And so Science is this new story. How did this come about?
So it was developed at the same time as Jupiter Jet. Jupiter Jet was actually the 4th or 5th thing that Jason and I pitched. It was just the first one that got picked up. And we were developing Science concurrently to that. Jupiter Jet was originally in consideration for the publisher who wound up picking up Science. I think I said it the right way. I don't remember. But then they wound up picking up Science. Jupiter Jet got greenlit first, so we put Science on the backboard. And Bedside Press, Eisner-nominated Bedside Press, was very understanding about that because we wanted to give both of them as much time and consideration and ability to stew as possible. Because, they're our first foray into comics. Like, some people who work for Marvel and have other people paying for their books can do multiple things at the same time. And we really wanted to make sure that we did both of the stories justice because we're both very passionate about them. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, you did. So the story of Science is, from what I understand, about a young woman going to school. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's like what if Harry Potter went to science school, like Star Trek school, and wanted to kill Dumbledore? This is my elevator pitch.
But isn't Dumbledore in this story her new boyfriend or something?
No.
Okay, so go on to this.
That's okay. Her father was previously the headmaster of the Prometheus Institute, which is this fancy science school that she just got accepted into.
Right.
And he died very mysteriously, but she's a really smart science girl and he's a really smart science man. So he downloaded his consciousness into her glasses. So she is able to see and communicate with him. And she has come to this school in order to kind of try and uncover the mystery of what happened to her father. But the bummer about that is like she has a cute roommate, and so her dad can see her trying to like, put the moves on this girl, and that's not cool when you're 14. It's not cool at any age. And then all of the students are working towards winning the Prometheus Award for Superior Science. So you see them all kind of working on their specialties and doing these new projects. If you go over to sciencecomicbook.com, which is where our pre-order campaign is, you can see the first 7 pages, and there's a character there working on rocket boots. That's one of the projects. Our protagonist's love interest discovers a mysterious power source that can rip a hole in the fabric of space and time. So Tamsin, our protagonist, has to decide, is she going to trust the cute girl? Is she going to trust this new family that she didn't expect to find? But she's ultimately going to learn that you can only trust in science.
That is beautiful.
Thank you.
See, I had no idea they were 14. I was like going for this love story, and I'm like, no, maybe maybe not.
I mean, there's a cute little love story, but yeah, they vary in ages. Tamsin, our protagonist, she's 14. I think our eldest character is 16. But we kind of have a core group of 5 kids that are between 14 and 16. They're all in the same study group, and they're all kind of working and taking class together, even if they're maybe not, if you would think about it traditionally, they're not maybe in the same grades.
Correct, yeah. It's funny because I actually work with kids, with young kids that around that age. And so I feel like a story like this, I feel like a story like this would really grasp their interest. Only because, at that age, not only is like, relationships a big thing, but, the interest in science these days isn't quite there anymore for a lot of these kids. And yeah, I know it's kind of sad. I see it, and it's like, I feel like if you drop this book on that table, they love comics, so you drop that book on that table, they just might eat it up. I don't know. Got to think about that. I feel like that's a good, place for where you could bring this comic book is to, I know granted you know where your demographic is, but I feel like the kids in middle school and like high school right now, they would eat this up. I don't know. I would hope so. I mean, our audience is like a middle grade, is I guess what the book market would call it. I would love nothing more than for people who work in schools to invite me to come and talk about it with their students. That would be amazing. Jupiter Jet was all ages, so we actually got an opportunity to go to Portland and speak to a group of 5th graders there. Wow. We're doing a bunch of libraries here. Like, that's something that I'm really interested in because people talk about comics as a dying art form, and I don't think it has to be that way. No,
maybe traditional paper comics are that, but I think it's that kind of outreach and reaching out to, people beyond your Wednesday warriors is what's going to keep this medium alive and relevant. So, I mean, I truly want nothing more than for people who are the age of our protagonist to be the people who like love and ride or die by this book. So hopefully we'll get there someday.
Let's start this movement of having this happen. I will be at the forefront of this movement for you. So like, I'm all for it. I'm hands on with that.
All right, we got to talk off air then.
Yeah, no, totally. Totally.
I'm going to send you another email.
So actually, that leads me into the whole idea that your publisher, aren't they an online comic book publisher?
They are. So Bedside Press, like I mentioned, they're Eisner nominated. If anyone doesn't know, the Eisners are like the Oscars of comic books. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of a big deal. They are a Canadian small press company. I'm also Canadian. And I really wanted to work with them as soon as I learned who they were and what they were about. I got an opportunity to interview Hope Nicholson, who's our publisher now. Like, it's such a dream to get to work with them. And they are a publisher, they're like a new media publisher. Everything that they do is Kickstarter funded, which is great because it's truly the only way that we could afford to make a comic book. Yeah. So they are a non-traditional publisher. That means that they are not going through Diamond and they're not going through traditional comic stores. So right now our Kickstarter is funded, which is amazing. And that means it is truly a pre-order campaign. The book is going to happen. And as far as I know, unless something amazing happens, the only place you're going to be able to get it is here and is online, which is cool because it means we have a lot more control over the distribution process and sort of the future of this book and what happens. But it also made you have to hustle a lot harder because we're not a part of the machine. Whereas with Jupiter Jet, we went with Action Lab as a publisher. They're more of a traditional publisher. They work with Diamond. They work on Diamond's schedule. But then you're locked into their publishing schedule, which is good and bad. We did one. Now we're doing the other. We're going to see how it goes.
And then the next step is the Jason Inman, Ashley Robinson publishing company.
I've been trying to bully Jason into starting Jawin Publishing for so long, but all Jawin things are a 2-person operation, and we might die if we take that on right now.
But it would be the most perfect name, though. It just comes off the mouth perfectly. Something to think about. Why not? So like the story. So you described the story, but what should we expect from Is there something you could can you go into it further? Would we expect loss, betrayal? Like what exactly should we expect from this story?
All of those things. High emotions. We all know what middle school was like. We have trapped a bunch of very bright, very hormone-filled characters together, and that does inform a lot of what all of them are going through. We are going to learn a really important lesson about the values of found family versus biological family. We're going to learn about trust. And one thing that we included in this book that actually our publisher suggested is there is real scientific facts in addition to the cool students and the cool teachers that work at the Prometheus Institute. There are these floating robots that kind of look like if Herbie and Skeets had a baby. And they're called STATs, which stands for Science and Technological Assistant Teachers. So I mentioned the rocket boots before. So AJ, one of our characters, he makes these rocket boots. It doesn't really work. And a stat pops up to tell you how rocket fuel is actually made. So shout out to NASA for putting that on their website. So we do have there's educational value, and we wanted this to be fiction based in hard science like Star Trek and like the Fantastic Four. So that informs a lot of the twists and turns that are going to show up is kind of these cool real life point of views that we could anchor them in.
Yeah, that was actually something I was going to bring up, like how much real scientific evidence or knowledge is being used in this comic, and you hit it right there. So will there be a Neil deGrasse Tyson? No, just kidding.
There is so that's so funny that you bring him up. So in Jupiter Jet, there is a character named Neil, and that's who he's named after.
Oh, that's so beautiful. See?
Yeah,
I only brought him up as a joke, but
we do like to include little Easter eggs and fun things like that in all of our books.
So is there one you could mention now, or is that a hush-hush thing right now?
So right now, it's not all written.
Oh,
so
I was not aware of that.
I know, but now that it's funded, we're in the process of actually writing it and creating a lot of the narrative. I will say, if people are familiar with Jason and I, we are huge Star Trek fans.
Yep.
So there are going to be always a lot of Star Trek references and Easter eggs. So if you know the original series, then you're going to get, I think, a lot of cool stuff out of the story.
Oh, that's perfect. That's beautiful. And it's funny that you bring up Star Trek, because I loved watching your Red Shirt Diaries videos, and you just, being yourself on those videos is just perfect. It's just really funny to watch.
Thank you.
And so me not being the biggest Star Trek fan, I mean, obviously I'm not going to get the references as much while reading the graphic novel, but I'm sure all of our fans here who do appreciate Star Trek will love that. Yeah.
Just have to tell you, that's all.
That is true. They'll just have to tweet me and be like, "Hey, this is what's happening." So I saw it, you had emailed me some of the images of the characters.
Yes.
And so
don't remember what I emailed you. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. You emailed me, I think, the two love interests. Oh, sorry, the two love interests. The main character love interest, and I think two other characters. I'm not too sure. There's four characters.
Okay, so I emailed you. Yes, that's true. I emailed you Tamsin, who's her lead, and Garen, who is her love interest. Garen is a rebel, and you can tell that because she wears a James Dean t-shirt. Sally, who's an engineer, and she has a cool Rosie the Riveter headscarf.
There we go.
And AJ, who is he actually appears in our first 7 pages, and he's referred to as a science idiot. He likes going fast, and he likes rockets and cars, and he's very much a stereotypical boy in that sense. And it's a female-heavy book, so he's really fun to write because he just wants to be cool, and he's not.
Hey, there's plenty of like stereotypical female stories. I might as well have one that's the guy.
Yeah, right. See how you like
character.
it.
Yeah, might as well. And I'm assuming this picture of this older gentleman is her father.
No, that's their headmaster. His name is Lucan Laverin. He's I guess the baddie of the story. Her father, we don't really have a traditional photo of because, like I said, his consciousness lives in her glasses. So we are mostly seeing him as kind of a Star Wars-esque hologram.
Nice.
So we do see him, but he's all like kind of green and blue. So he doesn't. He's not as exciting to look at as some of the other concept art that we had.
Watch him be the one that I fall in love with, though. No,
I hope so. I truly do. He's got a big twist in the book. So
you described these characters and their outfits, and so it gives a lot. Yeah, just by looking at it, because I haven't really taken a look at them yet, but it really gives a good look into who they are. I love that James Dean drawing. Who did that little caricature?
Yeah, that's our artist.
Who are the artists? Yeah.
Her name's Des Pittman. She is a cartoonist from Portland. We actually met her because we tabled beside her and her husband at Wizard World Portland. She's really well known for doing zombie portraits, so she's really good at likenesses.
Cool.
And if I may plug our Kickstarter campaign, there are rewards where you can be a teacher or a student and have a cameo in the book. And since she's known for likenesses, it's really going to look like you. And we actually went through a lot of artists before we got her, so we're really, really fortunate to have her on the book with us.
The fact that you mentioned the Kickstarter, which I was going to have you mention later, but I'm glad you mentioned it now, because mention it as often as you want.
Heck yeah, sciencecomicbook.com.
Exactly. I was looking at the Kickstarter earlier, I think yesterday, and I was noticing all the, if you contribute this much and all that, the different tiers, and I was just like blown away by what you guys can get by just putting in $5, $10. Well, what does it go all the way up to? What is the contribution?
I think the most expensive one is $5,000.
$5,000.
That's where Jason and I will come to your house.
Well, for $5,000, why not? Yeah, so it is. I was looking at it. Listen, Facts Not Included fans, I know, if you can't do the $5,000, you could surely do the $5. So take a look at this. We're gonna have the link in our all of our podcast links, including the Facebook page and the Twitter. We're gonna make sure you guys are being a part of this, because this is just absolute. It could be absolute greatness if you guys contribute and make sure that as many copies are made as possible. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, I'm all about it, because I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no, please.
When we did this podcast 2 years ago, and we were just students in college, and we were like, oh, we're doing this for fun. It's whatever. But when we came back this year in March, we were like, we need to set a focus on this podcast. And one of those things were, continue with our movie reviews, but of course we want to make sure that we are bringing people in the community together. Mm-hmm. And so what better way than contributing back than through this Kickstarter? So that's why I encourage our fans to go out there and help you guys out.
I really do look at Kickstarter, and I do podcasts as well, and the YouTube. I do try to look at all of that as a community, and a lot of our rewards are focused around trying to get as many other people potentially involved in comics as possible. Of course, you can get the book. There's many different levels where you can get the book. You can get amazing prints by Brent Schoonover, who helped reintroduce. He drew the series that reintroduced Scott Lang when he came back as Ant-Man. He just drew the Captain Marvel series. We have a print by Ryan Sands, who is not only the star of the Runaways show, he plays Jeffrey Wilder. He's also a cover artist at Marvel. He just had his first issue come out, Runaways number 13. They did great prints. But Jason and I started as fans, and just a couple years ago, we were people trying our best to make comics. So through our rewards and some of our connections, we try to facilitate that for as many other people as possible. Like, I would love nothing more if people checked out our script and portfolio reviews, and then next year and in 5 years, they're running a campaign for their comic and we can contribute to that. We actually reached a stretch goal. So today we added a new script review by Mark Andreyko, who is the current Supergirl writer. He wrote Wonder Woman 77. He created and facilitated the Love is Love anthology that Jason and I are both in. And Mitch Gerrits, he's doing artist portfolio reviews. He works on these really little books, like Batman and Mr. Miracle and Sheriff of Babylon and won an Eisner this year. He's going to look at artist portfolios. So, like, all the people that we included are people who have mentored us and who have given us notes and who have helped us. So we're not just putting people out there willy-nilly who are not going to be helpful and who don't have, like, constructive things to say. But this is also giving people an opportunity to interface with big two creators and develop relationships that are sometimes hard to do in 5 seconds at a table at a convention.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. I love going to Comic-Con in New York and just seeing a bunch of people being like, well, can you really sit down and help me? Well, I have like a line here of people. I don't really think I could spare my time right now.
Tough, and you wanna get as much out of that interaction as possible.
Yeah, no, of course. It's funny that you mentioned Love is Love. I love that. See, I just love that book. Have you read it? I know you said you're in it, but like, have
yes,
you?
I've read. You can't sit down and read it in one go because it's very sad.
Yeah.
I've read several stories in it. I also thought it was really neat that there were a lot of celebrities who donated their time and talent to it, which is great. But specifically, Matt Bomer did a Nightwing story, and I want him to play Nightwing really bad. So that's like one of the things that stands out to me because I thought it was so great.
That is pretty great. So you mentioned that you would help out. You have that the reading scripts. I mean, comics or whatever. How much is that pledge for?
Let me pull it up. So there's a couple different tiers that you can get that at. It kind of depends on whose advice you want. So at the lowest level, which is $150, you can actually get a portfolio or a script review from me. I was the head editor at Top Cow for a year. I work as a freelance comics editor. I've been in the room greenlighting comics or sending back notes. So I'm the cheapest one. And then you can have one of my email addresses. So there you go. Some of the higher things we have is the Mitch Gerrits portfolio review is at $250. There's only one left. And Mark is also at $250. And there is only one left. And then when we hit our 18,000 stretch goal, Jason is going to do script reviews and portfolio reviews as well. And Jason works on a fancy TV show now, so you definitely want that.
What show is this? I didn't.
It's a new CBS show called The Code. It starts next year, so set your DVRs.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's about to start shooting, so very exciting.
Congrats, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love hearing this. This is like blowing me away. I know I'm the host, but I'm just like I'm like a kid at a candy store. Just hearing all this stuff, the fact that you're giving back, like we just mentioned, the fact that you're giving back to people in as small or big a way as you can. The fact that you're still giving back to people that are giving to you. So it's pretty fantastic.
I mean, I think it's only fair. I wouldn't be able to make any of this without people. Like I said, it's expensive. Making comics is expensive. And, Jason and I don't take a page rate as writers. Our publisher isn't getting paid. All of our costs are going to pay our artists, our colorists, our letterer. But now we're hitting stretch goals where we can actually pay them their rate. A lot of them took discounts to work with us because they're friends or they're really cool and they wanted to collaborate. So it's really awesome to be able to get the resources that we can work with such amazing people because I can't draw for crap.
I can, but not like that.
You just keep practicing.
Right? Yeah, you'll get to it. So let the fans know exactly where in this pledge range, how much would they have to give to get the book exactly?
So we have two different options for that. If you want the full OGN, all 80 pages, maybe more pages, depending on how well the campaign does, you can get it digitally at 15. And those are all going to be fulfilled by Comixology, which is really great. They've been working with us, and we're so thrilled and so lucky. You can get the hardback at 25. And for a little more, you can get the prints that I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
I will say that I know finances are a real thing. I know finances are difficult. If people can't donate that, if people could give $1, that would be amazing. More Kickstarters are funded and reach their goals on $1 pledges than anything else. And if that is an unreasonable ask, because I've been there, man, it's a reality.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the project and you think it's cool and you would consider sharing it on your social media, I would be so grateful, because everybody has a different circle of people around them, and I want your circle.
Did you hear that, folks? She is saying that if you could even just share it, she will be forever indebted now to you.
I will. I'll tweet you a thank you, like tag me in it. I'll try to send you a funny GIF. You know, I true, and I mean that sincerely. I think sometimes people think I'm being glib, but
no, without a doubt.
It really means a lot.
No, it totally does. It goes a long way. You know, that little share turns into another share possibly, and then
exactly
the world just gets better from there. I like the retailer book club pack. I like that. I'm looking at it right now. $60, you get 5 copies and a mention in the book. So that's pretty cool.
Well, like I said, we're not going through a traditional publisher, so we're not interfacing with retailers in the way that we had on Jupiter Jet, and we're very fortunate that we have a couple retailers that back us really hard and are really great supporters, and we really love and appreciate them. And so this is a way that we can work with them. This offer, it says retailer package, is also open to libraries and schools.
Yeah.
If that's something that they would be interested in, of course. But we really want to, as much as possible, try to give thanks and work with the people who work so hard with us. So yes, there is a retailer packet, and it's a better deal than Diamond offers you. So take a look at it.
I was thinking of that, just getting that for myself and just having 5 copies and being like, look at this, I have 5 of them.
I mean, if you want 5 copies, I'm sure we'll sign them and send them to you.
Well, that would be great. Yes. So, like, you know, just to remind everybody, how do they get to the Kickstarter exactly?
It's really easy. If you just follow my social profiles, it's pinned to all the top of them, or you can go to sciencecomicbook.com, because I get it. Typing's a pain. Searching Kickstarter's a pain. So we have your back. You can get it really easily. sciencecomicbook.com.
Yeah, and of course, if you want, you can always follow Ashley on Twitter, or I'm sure Jason as well. And
yes,
they're constantly sharing things related to the Kickstarter, so you could always check it out there as well on the Twitter account. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like the fans are going to support you. I mean, clearly, you guys are doing great here, but hopefully our fans could join in on there. So,
please, I want your circles, please.
Please do it, please. But yeah. So I mean, today is, well, as we're recording this, it is September 18th. So something happened today, and I don't think we were expecting this to happen. A certain movie trailer dropped.
That's right.
And I'm just like freaked out by this because what? I didn't see this coming. Did you have any idea that the Captain Marvel trailer was going to drop today?
I truly had no idea that it was coming today. And it's funny, I did, on the time we're recording this, I did Marvel movie news earlier today. So it's like, great, we have something to talk about that's not Iron Fist. Awesome.
Who wants to talk about Iron Fist?
Dude, not me.
Right, exactly.
It's funny because trailers don't usually drop on Tuesdays. Yeah. They're calling it a teaser. It's a full 2 minutes. I thought it looked pretty good.
I also think they gave, not that they gave a lot away, but I feel like they gave more than a teaser would give away normally anyway.
Traditionally, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I wish she had more lines than Nick Fury.
That's true. I don't think I heard her speak until maybe the third.
She has exactly
in.
2 lines.
Oh.
Which I want to be generous and say it's because Marvel's trying to keep it under wraps and they don't want to reveal too much about her, but considering the movie's called Captain Marvel, it would have been nice to have Captain Marvel speak and to have our first female-led Marvel movie after 19 goddamn movies introduce her own movie.
Good point. That is.
But that's fine.
But I think at least we know it's not because she's not a seasoned or good actress. We know she's good. She's Oscar nominated and Oscar winner.
Yep.
So we know that it's not that.
And we have had Nick Fury as sort of the narrator of this universe. So I understand, especially because this is time travel. It's a little cosmic. Like Captain Marvel could be really weird. So they might have gone to Nick Fury and the Samuel L. Jackson narration to sort of comfort us that like, hey, it's weird, but it's still Marvel. It's the Avengers. You know what's up. But I did think it was weird for a first offering.
I do. Yeah, I agree. Because also when even her line of like, I think she says like, I've seen this all before and I'm not too sure like as to what's going on. To the average person, that's just like, me too. I don't get it either. So maybe that's why we need a little bit of Nick Fury in there to be like, you know, I was going to retire, but then I saw you come, and it's a little bit more grounded than whatever she's saying. But then again, I'm sure there's something in the movie they could have put in the trailer that would have been perfectly okay and even better. But you know, they're making their decisions.
We have 6 months to speculate and then complain about it.
Yeah, they're making their decisions. And we're like nitpicking now, but then when it comes out, it's going to be like the best movie, and then Infinity War 2 comes out, and it's like even better movie, and so we're just being annoying, but it's worth speculating.
And it's fun to speculate. I mean,
yeah, it's worth talking about. It's funny because I barely know about the character. I've never been a Captain Marvel fan, not by choice. It's just I just haven't gotten into them.
I'm going to agree with that. I guess mine is by choice. I don't think she's one of the more interesting characters. I will say that. I've read a couple of her comics. I think Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, is a much more compelling person to have that mantle. However, Marvel Cinematic Universe, excuse me, has a great track record of taking kind of crappy, or maybe not crappy. None of them are crappy. Less well known, less popular characters, or characters that I didn't maybe care about, and elevating them and making them really amazing. So even if I'm not coming in here as like a member of the Carol Corps, I am really looking forward to the movie.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right there. Like the whole idea of like what is Guardians of the Galaxy, and then it becomes probably their best franchise within the MCU. So there's that to be said. Also, for a lot of people, the confusion of like, you know, I remember when Shazam was, you know, being talked about, and they were like, but isn't that Captain Marvel? But no, he's not. He's no longer that. He's Shazam. He's been like that for years, and like a lot of uninformed people are just confusing the names. And so hopefully that doesn't happen when the movie comes out. You know,
exactly.
People just being like, well, that's a DC movie. Why'd they turn it into a female-led thing? And it's like, no, it's not a DC thing. It's, you know, whatever.
I'm sure somebody out there, some angry gentleman really believes that. And I just think that's so funny and sad.
Yes, exactly. That's why I bring it up, because it's like, you know, there's definitely somebody out there just thinking that those stupid thoughts. I know my co-host Antonio, he, I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I'm not going to go
do it.
No, but he has a weird love-hate relationship with the character because of the, you know, the origins of it being, you know, DC's, you know, Captain Marvel type of thing, and then changing that all in, you know, Marvel, and them having that rift thing back then, whatever. So he still has this, like, you know, weird, again, not trying to confuse him, because he's gonna call me later and be like, what the hell were you talking about? But he has like this weird like relationship with the character, at least the current incarnation of Captain Marvel.
Which is totally fine.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Again, we can say this, and we can agree to not love something, and it doesn't take away anything from people who do and who are jazzed and like who stand this character. I just hope that everyone knows that.
Oh yeah,
it's just an opinion.
Yeah, totally. And that's why, again, you said it too before, like the way Marvel's doing their films, they're just like, yeah, we're taking some of the stories from the comic books, doing page for page reshoots of a comic book. I mean, that's impossible, and it wouldn't work most of the time. We're going to take different incarnations and mix them together, or different stories and mix them together, and we're going to make our story for the movie.
And can you imagine? We could disagree on the internet and still be friends.
Hey, Peter here. Quick commercial break. Hope you guys are enjoying this episode. Remember to check out sciencecomicbook.com so you guys can support the Kickstarter by any means necessary. You heard Ashley. $1 goes a long way. And of course, the top tier $5,000 goes extremely far. But if you cannot help any way with financial means, please make sure you do at least share the link with your friends and family. And support Science by Ashley Robinson and Jason Inman. Enjoy the rest of the show. Did you like the trailer? I mean, I know you said it was.
I think it's a big check, and I hope Marvel's in a position where they can sign it. I did think it was compelling. I did think it was beautiful. But I think it's to take a phrase that I don't like, ballsy, and it's going to be a risk. But I also thought that the Black Panther trailer looked really, really ambitious, which it was, to its credit, and that's a really amazing movie. So I'm hoping that Captain Marvel is very that. And I'm going to go see the movie, and I'm going in looking forward to it.
I was taken aback because I wasn't, like you said, I wasn't expecting what I actually got, and I literally was just expecting her like crashing down to earth and being like, "Hi guys, I'm Captain Marvel," and that's it, and they just boom, end of trailer.
Yeah, truly.
That's all I thought I was going to see. But then we got to see Coulson as a young man.
So excited for that.
The whole idea that Blockbuster's a thing now because it's in the 90s.
Yeah.
So bringing that
R.I.P.
back. And so, I don't know. Yeah, R.I.P. Exactly. There is something that really wasn't touched upon so much was the 90s culture, though, because, yes, they show Blockbuster and maybe some of the hairdos, but I didn't really feel like maybe this movie was set in the 90s. Do you think that's why they threw Blockbuster right away?
I definitely think so. And I think because they didn't make a music choice that was reflective of the time period. Yeah. This was kind of like, hey guys, I really expected it to open with "Smells Like Teen Spirit" or something.
Quintessential
Marvel
90s, yes.
Is sometimes a little basic in their music choices.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're really creative. They sort of waffle between the two. I liked the hero theme or the placeholder. Whatever we got, I thought was fine. I don't like thinking of the 90s as a throwback time period. Screw you, Lady Bird. The fact that there weren't a ton of indicators means there might be more hopping through time than we think right now.
See, this is going to make, I don't know, this is either going to make you feel young, old, or in between, because I'm not going to ask your age, but we probably are differing in age, because I was born within the 90s, and so...
I'm too young to care, but I'm old enough to know better.
Well said.
Thank you.
So, I was born in the 90s, so, right in the middle, too, 95. So, I'm not quite a 90s, kid, but I am. It's weird. I'm more relevant to the early 2000s. So, Nirvana was never my thing, And so I get why people like it, but I don't at the same time.
Oh, you got to listen to the MTV Unplugged one. I'm not a huge Nirvana fan, but it's the one Nirvana thing that I like.
You know what? I'm going to write that down because I know people are probably
find it all on YouTube.
Yeah, people are like, wait, you've never heard it? No, I've never heard it. Okay? Bite me.
I have a huge gap in my 80s knowledge, having not been alive in the 80s and not caring for many things that came out of it. But I've never seen the Indiana Jones movie, and people give me no end of grief about that.
The original? Or
any of them.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never seen them.
You know what I got a lot of beef from people was not seeing Alien for a while.
Oh, it's seeing the first one. I think is worth it. I don't know if you need to see the rest of the franchise.
I did wind up seeing the first one, and then I skipped all of them until Covenant, and I was like, oh, this is a worthy successor, not realizing that I missed a bunch of them in between. I mean, I realized, but
that's so
not caring.
It's all Prometheus. Okay, not bad.
And so, I got a lot of heat for that from people. But I don't know. I don't want to get on this Alien story, but it's not that good. I'm sorry, people. It's not. And I'm sure you'll feel the same way when you see Indiana Jones, because it's all these years later, and this is what
Well, it is tough, when everyone tells you it's the greatest thing ever and it'll change your life. And there are some things that it's important to see in your formative years. Like, you should only read Catcher in the Rye when you're 16 and then never read it again. because
Yeah.
you realize that Holden Caulfield's an asshole, and it's hard to identify with that book.
What are you talking
So,
about? He's the greatest person ever. No. Yeah,
I mean,
you have a good point.
Mark David Chapman thought so. So maybe that's all you need to know about Catcher in the Rye.
Right. I mean, I had the same. I did that with someone with Star Wars. They were just like, everybody's telling me it's great. I've never seen them, and I was like, what are you, crazy? Sat down, watched them, thought, it's not that great. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, you can't be a friend now. Because like that's part of my, if you want to be a friend, you have to like Star Wars. I don't care what you say. We don't
all of the Star Wars.
That's a good point. At least the first, the original 3, at least.
Yeah. I can get behind that as a requirement.
Now, if we're not having a good friendship after a while, I could torch you and let you watch Attack of the Clones now.
But like, are you gonna be mad at me because I don't like Rogue One?
No. And why don't you like Rogue One? Let's get into that.
Honestly, I haven't liked a single new Star Wars movie.
Now, liked on your level is between what 2 other words? Because you get what I'm saying?
Hated and loved.
Oh, so it's like 50.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, interesting.
I have pretty strong opinions on stuff, and again, it's not to take away from what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry, I don't work for Disney.
For me, yeah, for me, watching Rogue One, I was like, oh, okay. So for me, from my point of view, Star Wars is about the Jedi, and seeing a movie devoid of that, I was like, I really don't care.
I see.
I don't care about any of these people. We know how it's gonna end, and I'm not a Felicity Jones or Diego Luna fan. Like, they're just not actors that appeal to me.
No, I get that.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I watched it and I thought it was really long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. No, I get that from people. They're like, there's no Jedi, there's no interest. And I mean, I don't agree on that, that aspect of it.
Which is fine.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
glad
totally.
that you liked it.
No, totally. Like, I don't hate you for not. But that I find that so fascinating because I'm flipped. I'm like, the less Jedi stuff I get, the better off I am. I don't know.
Who is your favorite Star Wars character?
I would go with Obi-Wan, but if we're going with like expanded, I mean the new EU stuff, like Ahsoka's pretty fantastic. And I love what they do.
That's interesting because, like, Luke is my favorite, which I think is why I want it to be all Jedi, all hero's journey all the time.
Totally. And I'm sure you were pissed off in Last Jedi. If
Oh, yeah, man.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah. But again, it makes sense for people not to like what they did, and it also makes sense for people to like it. So it's, it's all...
Absolutely.
It's all subjective. I love it. Like It's like, that's how life is anyway, so who cares?
Wait, life is complicated?
Yes. So, I don't know. I just want to, like, talk. I know, because I know Jason is involved, or at least he was involved. Catch me if I'm saying something stupid. He was, like, involved with DC at one point or something. Like, wasn't he doing some DC?
Yeah, he was the face of DC for like 3 years.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. I knew I wasn't wrong. I remember seeing him doing DC-related things, but was he? So, yeah. Is he still involved or no?
No, so he's got this fancy... Sorry, I muted my mic to cough.
No, it's fine.
His fancy TV job takes up too much of his time.
Makes sense. No, of course. No, I only bring that up because I wanted to talk to you about some DC stuff, if that's okay with you. Yeah.
Sure.
So, like, the morning was the other... Oh, I see. I was going to do a very dramatic telling, but I can't remember the day. It was like Monday, I guess. But when this stupid news about, like, Superman came out, what the fuck was that
news.
day?
It's unconfirmed. It's not news.
But that's what I want to talk about. Like, what was going on? Like, people were like, all I was picturing in my head, I don't know if you've ever seen the episode of SpongeBob, and I'm sure you've seen the GIF, where, like, he's just destroying paperwork and things are on fire. Like, that's all I was picturing in everyone's mind. They were, like, freaking out over something, which seems to be nothing. Like, I'm so confused by everything, though. So, is there any way you could... do you know anything that you could clarify? No. Like, what the hell?
I think it's either contract negotiations that are or a tactic to try and get something. Either, I don't know which camp it comes from, Or I think because, DC Films had a regime change about 6 months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they finally decided, or maybe they have finally decided, that they're scrapping the shared universe, and someone talked to THR out of turn and THR didn't protect them. They ran the article. I think either way, it's messy. It's a bad look. I think it's an incredibly disrespectful way to treat the actor who has led your universe, who's been nothing but positive, who is very well liked. And I think if it wasn't the death knell for Henry Cavill as Superman, I think it is now. It's a very, very bad look on WB.
Yeah, I think their response, as vague as it was at the same time very clear, because we fucked up. I think it's that type of thing. I just think
it's wild that they want to put their money and effort behind Shazam instead of Superman, but
yeah,
I'm not in charge.
Yeah, me either. I don't know. I'm still very confused by all of this. It's just like, and it makes sense for the new head of Warner Brothers to
I get
want
it.
to move
I get
on.
it.
No, I get it too.
He's a spectacular Superman, and I think to not give him one more standalone film, I think is a mistake.
Yeah, I feel like you got to respect with what you have a little bit, and then the other guy in the other room, the guy with the cape, the black cape over there, Mr. Batman. That's a whole nother cup of nonsense. And so, and this is what I just hope, though. Whatever they do, just don't get rid of Gal Gadot, please. Like, I like her as Wonder Woman. I don't know. I think they shouldn't lose her.
I bet they'll give Patty Jenkins a trilogy.
Give her something, like, here's.
I think we'll get 3 Wonder Woman movies, because the second one's gonna make $100 million bazillion $1,000. Numbers, math.
Yes, it will. Like, what is it called? 84? Wonder Woman 84 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that movie's gonna $3 billion movie. I don't care what you say. I'm sticking to my numbers here. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, give her a trilogy. Do it. Like, even if it doesn't relate, and same like this whole new Joker movie thing, like, doesn't relate, but it's gonna be made, and that's what I want, because I'm totally fine with like Marvel doing their connected stuff, but if you guys don't want to do it, you don't have to. Like, hold your horses. Like, make
right. And I understand that their shared universe model looks very appealing and was very successful, but DC is not Marvel, and I don't think that DC Films should try to be MCU.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. Like, there's no need to. Like, I know they tried it in the 90s a little bit. They were going to do the Schumacher stuff and whatnot. And, they did a trilogy with Nolan. But, you don't have to connect everything. Like, it's fine if...
Can you imagine, though, if we'd had, like, Nolan Batman talking to Brandon Routh's crappy Superman? It would have been a nightmare.
And then, was it George Miller was going to have his Justice League? Like,
yeah. With Armie Hammer as Batman.
I mean, that would have been interesting. Not that I would have went for it, but it would have been interesting. But I died. But actually, the same thing was said about Affleck, which, I think he's probably quintessential Batman. That's just me. I feel like
I agree. I was a detractor, but I think he's the closest to comic book Batman we've had yet.
Yeah, he's perfect, but too bad he's currently, going through some hard times right now, and I hope he can get out of it. His personal life. I hope he can get out of whatever he's going through. But to lose him as well is just makes me so sad, because it's just like we had.
It's a really well cast Trinity.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everything was just perfectly put in place, and then it just went to shit. But what can you do? But anyway, I mean, we've talked, we've giggled, we've laughed, we've done all this stuff, and we've talked about science, and that is why you were here. And I think we've got a lot out of you, but before we put this to a close, is there anything else you want to talk about science? The story or whatever, the characters, the Kickstarter, whatever. Just lay it out there. Let everybody know.
Science is something I'm very, very proud of. It's been in development for over 2 years. It's a story that I think needs to be told. We're trying to really ground it, like I said, in the hard science, and hopefully some really interesting, continue our research. And I just hope that if people take a look at it, that they think it's cool, which I think maybe sounds surfacey, but it's true, And I want more people to make comics because more comics means better comics.
I agree. The world right now.
ScienceComicBook.com.
Yeah, sciencecomicbook.com. So like we're, in New York City, there's a lot of comic book shops, but there's also a lot of comic book shops that are closing, and you know that very well. I mean, you see that in LA.
Yep.
It was the Meltdown just went not too long ago.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, and so it's just if we could keep the genre, the artistry alive through whether it's digital or through Kickstarters or whatever it may be, we have to do it. We have to make sure that people are still falling in love with what we fell in love with so many years ago and what generations before us have, and hopefully they will continue. And what better way than to join the Kickstarter for science and making those dreams a reality? And I feel like, we you knew this man. I just want to mention him for 1 second. Mr. John Schnepp, the fantastic man that he was. Someone that believed exactly in what I just mentioned, someone that believed in continuing comic books and making sure no comic book store would shut down or whatever, and making sure people knew about the genre, knew about the world of comics. I feel like he would ring that very true. For the fans, they know I mention him all the time. I mentioned him every time I would see an episode of Collider Heroes. I would be like, oh, so then I heard this thing from John Schnepp, and my co-hosts were like, dude, who is this guy? And so I got them involved in him. And I know you weren't here to talk about him, but like, can you quickly just? I know you had a relationship with him from what I understand.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would love to talk about him? Like, can you mention some great words about this man?
So when we did our last Kickstarter, he was very generous. He let us come on and promote it. We talked about story and all kinds of great things with him. And he was so supportive of people coming up in the world and helping everyone he could be as involved in the culture and creating it and being a fan as possible. And he gave his time, and he let us offer a lunch with him as a reward. And it's one of the most generous things that anyone has ever done for me. And I like to remember that. And then he came to my wedding, and I have this crazy photo of him in a purple shirt with insane hair dancing up to the microphone to give a very nice speech. And that's how I like to remember John.
Wow. That is actually kind of beautiful. That is very beautiful. It's funny because no, you're very welcome. Because I've obviously never met the man. I actually walked by him once at New York Comic Con, and
you can't miss him. He was 1,000 feet tall.
Right. I walked by him, and I totally regret. It's one of my I don't have regrets, but that was totally one regret that I will always keep, is that I didn't stop by the table and talk. And this is when he had the Death of Superman Lives movie coming out, and he had the doc on the table and everything, and I was just it was I wish I did, but he actually, it's funny because without him we wouldn't be talking to you right now, which is kind of strange, but it's weird because I found out about you guys kind of through watching him and you being on the show and whatnot, and then we followed you on Twitter, and I'm sure that's how you got in contact with us. So I will have to say thank you, Mr. John Schnepp, for this. So there you go. That's it.
I would also encourage people to reach out to the people that mean the most to you, and reach out to the people that you admire, because you'll be surprised who's willing to help. It's
very true. That is certainly probably a great way to end the show, and that is perfect. So I have been Peter Cabranes. I have been the host here of Facts Not Included, and we have been joined by the wonderful Ashley Victoria Robinson.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Ashley V. Robinson. Please send me pictures of hobbits and cute animals. You can find out one more time my Kickstarter pre-order campaign at sciencecomicbook.com. I also co-host a podcast with my co-writer Jason Inman called The Geek History Lesson. We have 228 episodes. We teach you everything you need to know about a character in about an hour. This week we finally got around to doing Barry Allen. Our special guest is Steven Schleicher from Major Spoilers Podcast. If you subscribe to the Major Spoilers Podcast, you will get the Geek History Lesson in your feed, and you'll get the Major Spoilers Podcast, which I'm also on. YouTube.com/Jawin, JWIN, where we do all kinds of weird videos about all kinds of nerd stuff. Maybe that's it. I think I'll stop now. Sorry. Bye.
Well, this has been Facts Not Included. I hope you guys enjoy yourselves. Have a good week.